NECA Agumake, Lexi Brown's not okay with it. Lexi Brown took it upon herself to stand up and speak out on behalf of a lot of people who might have been afraid to. And you got Breanna Stewart talking about she don't believe that they're
Inside the blood-soaked arena of high-stakes corporate bargaining, where billions hang in the balance, mercy is a foreign concept. We reach that chilling breaking point the instant a solid alliance shatters, descending into a savage frenzy of brother turning against brother. It hits precisely when the grinders, the backbone of the workforce, snap out of their trance, stare at the ledger, and realize the wealthy icons leading the charge aren't protecting the herd, but are ruthlessly guarding their own kingdoms. For a long stretch, the league's union has turned the press into a propaganda machine, selling a glossy, airbrushed fairy tale of impenetrable solidarity that simply doesn't exist. They flaunted their walkout threats like a loaded gun, trying to bluff the billionaire tycoons into believing every single athlete was ready to torch the 2026 season. However, as the clock ticks down to the fatal deadline of March 10th, the owner's masterclass in mind games has finally fractured the union's bedrock, and chaos reigns as the locker rooms implode. The everyday players, those dependent solely on that league paycheck to keep the lights on, have launched an open rebellion against a leadership team blinded by avarice, inflated pride, and a dangerous ignorance of how money actually works. This is the collapse. We're pulling back the curtain on Lexi Brown's uprising, the shocking conflicts involving Brianna Stewart, and the brutal arithmetic of the Caitlin Clark boom that the old guard is frantically attempting to seize for themselves. To grasp the sheer scale of the terror and venom coursing through the association right now, you must identify the spark that ignites mutiny in any business hierarchy. It happens when the average worker realizes the disconnected elite are steering them directly into an economic abyss, and a lone dissenter rises to shatter the silence. For this league, that whistleblower is Lexi Brown. She is the living, breathing heart of the roster. She isn't sitting on a mountain of cash, nor does she have a massive shoe contract stamping her name across the globe. She is a grinder, a skilled pro locked into a legacy deal, working under tight constraints, desperate to bank what she can before her playing days fade to black. Hear the raw truth in Brown's stand. She just single-handedly dismantled the union's main battle plan by exposing the leadership's ineptitude, proving they've lost the very locker room they claim to serve. Brown is furious with the power plays orchestrated by Brianna Stewart, alongside Nafisa Collier and NECA Agumake. She isn't buying it. Brown is absolutely done with the maneuvers these high-profile figures are trying to force through. So she stepped into the line of fire to sound the alarm, ensuring the heavy weight of this internal treason rang loud and clear for the team owners. Calling out executive members by name isn't just criticism, it's a veteran screaming that faith in leadership is dead. Brown is staring down the brass and declaring, "You don't speak for me anymore. You have abandoned the middle tier of this league. Your demands are financial fantasy, and you're gambling our season just to feed your egos and grandstand for the cameras instead of making a deal." In an instant, Brown transformed into the champion of the silenced, the anxious majority hiding in the shadows. She is the manifestation of the rage that's been simmering in secret for the last 60 days. And this isn't just some abstract nervousness. It stems from the brutal, undeniable calculus of the offer currently on the table. The union elite have been screaming that the deal is a slap in the face. But the squad players actually crunched the numbers. They saw the guaranteed raises. They laid eyes on the colossal, groundbreaking win where owners committed to covering housing costs. For someone earning $90,000, having rent covered in a major city is a game-changing financial windfall. Pay attention to the raw, stark truth of how the roster is responding to this deal, and the reason they are pivoting their rage away from the tycoons and aiming it squarely at their own representatives in a unified front. Right now, the secret is out, and it is impossible to ignore. A massive contingent of the roster is perfectly fine with the numbers on the table and just wants to sign the contract. But we have reached a breaking point where countless players are looking at the offer, accepting the terms, and desperate to move forward, while openly accusing their own representatives of being driven by greed. This is the fatal blow, the absolute end of the union's bargaining power. The billionaire owners do not even need to show up to the table anymore. All they have to do is kick back and watch the association tear itself apart from the inside. The mid-level players are staring daggers at the executive committee and shouting, "The league is handing us rent-free living and guaranteed paychecks, and you are telling us to walk away? You want us to risk homelessness and financial ruin just so you can fight for a hypothetical slice of a pie that might not even bake for another 10 years? The everyday athletes have woken up to the harsh reality that they are just cannon fodder in a rich person's war, disposable pawns in a battle between billionaires and millionaires. And the most poisonous, gut-wrenching part of this entire civil conflict is the breathtaking arrogance of the union brass, who are holding the season for ransom without a shred of guilt. While the rank-and-file members are shaking in their boots about losing everything, the leadership is moving with a terrifying degree of casual unconcern. Take a hard look at the behavior and public stance of Breanna Stewart, the vice president of the Players Union. Stewart is arguably the best basketball player on the planet. She is a multi-millionaire, but far more critically, she is the literal co-founder of Unrivaled, that flashy new, cash-printing 3-on-3 Winter League. This is the single most glaring, disqualifying conflict of interest in the entire history of modern sports labor disputes. The vice president of the WNBA Players Association actually owns a rival basketball operation that functions completely outside the league's ecosystem. Just listen to the chilling, detached coolness in Brianna Stewart's voice when she gets grilled about that terrifying March 10th deadline that is giving the average player panic attacks. Here is exactly what she went on record saying. "I don't know," Stewart told Fox Digital, taking a long, dramatic pause. "I really don't know if a deal gets done by March 10th. Part of me wants to be optimistic, but another part sees how sluggish the back and forth has been. We need some major shifts to happen in the next 7 days. Literally, I have no idea if it happens by March 10th. Negotiations are moving at a snail's pace. Let the nausea-inducing weight of that long silence sink into your brain." Brianna Stewart has the luxury of shrugging her shoulders and admitting she has no clue if the season will happen. Why? Because Stewart is completely shielded from the fallout if the owners decide to cancel the 2026 season. Brianna Stewart is not going to miss a single dinner. She will simply shift her focus to her own unrivaled league, cash those massive corporate sponsorship checks, and keep living the high life. She is perfectly happy to play a high-stakes game of financial chicken against billionaire owners because she is betting with the house's money. But players like Lexi Brown do not have a safety net league waiting for them. They do not have signature Nike shoe deals. If the season gets axed, their entire livelihood vanishes in an instant. The working-class players are watching their own vice president wave off the March 10th deadline, knowing full well that her stubborn refusal to compromise is directly threatening their ability to put food on the table. Union leadership is asking the middle tier to burn their careers to the ground for a completely delusional, mathematically impossible revenue-sharing fantasy. And that brings us to the beating heart of the money fight that is actively destroying the league. The sports media refuses to properly break down the complicated, locked-down corporate accounting driving these talks. The press just says the players want 26% and the owners say no. But the real war is over how they define the money itself. The union executives, blinded by dollar signs, are aggressively gunning for 26% of the top-line gross revenue. Listen to the cold, hard, mathematical breakdown of what the union is demanding versus what the owners are guarding with their lives under the concept of shared basketball income. The association is chasing the gross intake of the whole league. The WNBA wants to stick to SBI, which is shared basketball income, where you agree on what goes into the pot before splitting it with the talent. So, the players are asking for a cut of the gross. The league is demanding they deal in shared basketball income. This is the immovable object, the brick wall where the union's leverage smashes into dust. Gross revenue means every single dollar that enters the corporate system before a solitary bill gets paid. We are talking about broadcast rights, gate receipts, jersey sales, and corporate partners. Do the math, and it guarantees the owners swallow hundreds of millions in losses throughout this deal. They would be digging into their personal savings to pay the roster before covering rent, jets, or staff salaries. Ownership is pushing for a shared revenue model, pure and simple, a carbon copy of the blueprint that made the NBA a financial juggernaut. Under that system, both sides haggle over exactly what cash goes into the bucket, and owners get to subtract the bills before splitting the profits with the talent. It is the only way to keep the lights on and the league solvent. There is zero chance none that owners sign a contract giving away 26% of total gross revenue. They would sooner board up the arenas and dissolve the league than sign a financial death warrant. But here is the tragic, twisted irony of this standoff. The veterans are trying to hijack a gravy train they did not build. The union bosses spent all last season taking physical shots at Caitlin Clark, whining about her coverage and trashing her loyal fan base. And now they are demanding a supermax payout funded entirely by the boom she created. They called Clark supporters toxic, racist, and unwelcome. But the moment networks cut a $2.2 billion check thanks to those exact fans, those same vets sprinted to the front of the line to grab 26% of the loot. They hate the spotlight on her, but they are addicted to the bankroll she brings in. They want superstar wages from an economy carried on the back of a 22-year-old rookie. Rank-and-file players like Lexi Brown are finally seeing the hypocrisy and danger here. They are jumping ship, and the agents are seizing control of the room. The locker rooms are in open revolt against Brianna Stewart and Nneka Ogwumike. Meanwhile, the billionaires are just sitting back, waiting for the union to implode before the March 10th deadline. I want your raw, honest take on this locker room civil war. Is Stewart's stake in Unrivaled a conflict of interest that should ban her from these talks? Are you with Lexi Brown on taking the guaranteed cash and housing right now? And most of all, are the vets hypocrites for chasing money from the very fans they spent all season attacking? Sound off with your unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. For the cold, hard truth about the industry, the strategy, and the brutal politics behind the game, smash subscribe, destroy the like button, and ring the bell so you never miss a beat. No mainstream fluff here. We expose the leverage and track the mutinies. We do the math they do not want you to see. Catch you in the next breakdown.